Hey there, Soul Tribe. It is Intuitive Energy Guide, Clairvoyant and Source Energy Channel, Kathy Weiss here. Welcome to your weekly energy reading for the week of January 20th through the 26th, 2020. 2020. I'm gonna have to figure out how to say that one because I got a lot of times I need to say it. I am coming to you live from my reading room here on the Central Coast of California, and I have all kinds of really great things lined up for you, especially if you have been feeling like anxious, extra irritable, sort of extra like meh, like eh. If you've been having ringing in your ears, this has been coming up as a little theme, so I'm even going to address if you've been having ringing in your ears lately, and just kind of general itty is kind of how like meh. If I could give you a, how do you like, somebody needs to tell me how to spell that sound effect so I can write it in the emails and things like that. But before we get started, I am going to be sending you some energy healing in the form of colored light. Now, I didn't think about this last week because it was the first time I was guided to do it. And I was like, whoa, I'm going to start doing energy healing through the videos. Okay, awesome. But you have an option to receive the energy healing or not to receive the energy healing. It comes through in colored light. Some people won't even feel anything. Some people feel warmth or heat in their hands. Some people feel a little bit of a tingling sensation. And some people for a moment start to feel a little bit anxious. And that's almost like, hey, Denise, nice to see you. No, oh, I'll tell you about my hair in a second. Some people start to feel a little bit anxious when the energy healing arrives. And I kind of liken to that to like somebody suddenly touching you and you get startled for a second. You're like, what? Oh, it's okay. It's safe. So those are all things that you might feel with the energy healing. Or again, you might feel nothing. If you want to receive it, you just put your hands into an open receptive position. They don't have to be up like this. I'm going to do that so you can see in the camera, but they could just be down in your lap and open or by your sides or like, hey, hands up in the air, like however you want to receive. If you don't want to receive the energy healing, awesome. Just close your hands. You don't have to make like angry fists, but you could just close your hands, put them in your lap, face down, whatever. So do me a favor, whether you're watching live or later, close your eyes just for a moment and take a long, smooth, easy inhale and a long, smooth, easy exhale. And then if you'd like to receive today's energy healing, just put your hands into an open, receptive position. This energy has been infused already into the messages that I'll be delivering during the video. It's also coming to you now through the video. Through my left hand is coming the color green, like you see in the rainbow, sort of a bright spring, like fresh grass kind of green, but it's also clear like light, which is why I think the image of a rainbow green comes. And through my right hand is the same color from last week. This is sort of a violet that tends towards more light purple and some pink rather than a bluer shade of violet. Give me just one moment to fully send that to you. Okay, I'm hearing that energy is set and it's going to continue to flow through me during the video. So you can pop your eyes open if you had your eyes closed. And I wanted to answer the question, it came up last week. Do the colors have some sort of meaning, or what do the colors mean? And yeah, I answered that in today's email so that we could stay focused on the messages. So if you're wondering about the colors, make sure that you read your email to me, don't read it to me because I already know what it says. Read it today. And if you don't receive my email yet, you can subscribe by either shooting me your email in a private message or visit kathy-weiss.com to subscribe, and you can grab a free mini intuitive reading there as my treat for signing up. So let's get into the energy reading for today. This has a lot to do, guys, with this seasonal energy of Vata. Denise, I'm hearing it, and I will not forget to tell you what's up with my hair. Give me a second, okay? I want to get into the seasonal energy of Vata. So all energy, guys, travels in a wave. like a light wave or a sound wave, it is just a wave. So we have personal energy that travels in a wave. We have collective energy that travels in a wave. We have source energy that travels in a wave. And we have seasonal energy that travels in a wave. There are 3 energetic seasons as compared to our 4 calendar seasons. So I kind of imagine it like this. We've got what I call the trough of Vata, and that's what's going on in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm going to explain, just hang on. We have the peak of the wave, which is Pitta season. That's going on in the Southern Hemisphere right now. From Vata going up into the peak of Pitta, we go through a season called Kapha. And then from Pitta, it's kind of a free fall until we get back down into the trough of Vata. And here's why I call Vata the trough of the seasonal energy. It happens when winter is at like what I think of as its winteriest. It is dark, it is cold, and most likely it's going to continue to be dark and cold for like at least 4 more weeks, if not 5 or 6 or 8, depending on where in the hemisphere you are. When Vata, the season that we're in, this is like super basic, guys, but just so you know, when Vata is at that trough and it's had time to build up, because as we come down, as we come down the crest from Pitta, Vata starts to build until we're in the toilet, which is where we are now. We feel anxious, irritable, reluctant. We don't want to get out of bed. We feel slow. We feel distracted. We have airhead syndrome. Our skin is really dry, sometimes even to like point where it's cracking. And yes, we get ringing in our ears. And it just occurred to me, like right before I started the video, I should have looked it up, but sort of like what that wisdom intuitive piece of me thinks about the tinnitus and the ringing in the ears being more intense during the toilet of Vata, or like the trough of Vata, like when we're at the very bottom, is because the air is so dry and so cold, and it's not like our ear holes are immune to that dry, cold air. So it's like our little hairs in there are like, could we have some moisture and warmth, please? Just like the rest of our body is yearning and craving for some moisture and some warmth. So here's what you're going to do if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Don't worry, my friends in the Southern Hemisphere that are at the peak of Pitta, I'm going to get to in a second. But I have been seeing more concern coming from people in the Northern Hemisphere. And again, I think that's because the trough of Vata is a little bit more challenging for most of us than the peak of Pitta. And some of that I'm hearing, don't forget to talk about vitamin D. We are like sunlight deprived in the Northern Hemisphere right now. So some of it is just the fact that we aren't getting high levels of natural vitamin D from the sunlight. Okay? So this is why people in the Northern Hemisphere also struggle with New Year's resolutions or goals or intentions somewhere around the 2nd or 3rd week of January. And it's like, haha, here we are. So here's what you're going to do. Stay warm. That seems like a no-brainer, but how often are you letting yourself cruise around with your hands and your feet and your ears and your nose feeling cold because it's cold? Like, put on another layer of clothing. It seems so simple, and so basic, but yet a lot of us kind of resist. Eat warm, moist food. This is like soups and stew season, not salad season. And here's the one I think that people feel surprised about the most and fight me the most about every time I mention it. I mention it every January for years. Drink liquids that are room temperature or warmer. That means no ice water, guys. It's so like habitual, I think, especially if you go to dine at a restaurant, they bring you water full of ice. Like no, okay? Ask them to bring you water with no ice or even warm water like for tea. So those of us who also like to drink like a smoothie in the morning or a shake or something like that, those are cold. So make it a little bit ahead and let it sit and come up to room temperature for a few minutes. I promise you, you do those things, it's going to help. And then for the dry skin, um, warm oil like jojoba or sesame oil that you've popped in the microwave or put like in a little pan and warmed up before you put it on your skin is also really going to help. So it's all about warmth and moisture. Even if it's raining where you're at, winter air is just inherently more dry than spring or summer air. So, those are some real simple tips. If you are having trouble sleeping, which is also common, number one, more blankets, but a weighted blanket, something that has some um, weight on your chest or your hips will help you sleep better through Vata. If there's more that you need to know, you're going to ask me a question. If this is making sense and you're good, you could just give me a thumbs up or some hearts or something to let me know that you're with me. I don't want to forget about our friends in the Southern Hemisphere who at the peak of Pitta. Um, Generally, you guys are doing okay unless you're kind of hot and bothered or irritated or kind of extra angry at things, in which case you need to do the opposite. You need to cool yourself down a little bit, take off some layers of clothes, drink some cool beverages. You get to eat all the salads you want right now. Party time. Okay, so that's why I'm attending to the Southern Hemisphere a little bit more, or excuse me, I'm attending to the Northern Hemisphere a little bit more than the Southern today, just because you all in the Southern Hemisphere are doing awesome. And even the messages for today, it says like 12020, clear energetic sight. The other thing that people have been fighting me on over this information about what's going on with the seasonal energy is they want to make it like the All About Them show, which I get. It's like, no, 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 I'm feeling this way because of XYZ in my life. It's like, yes, and you could decrease your propensity to feel that way or make things easier for yourself and feel a little bit better if you would follow some of the Vata protocol. Okay, it's not to belittle or diminish your life experiences, but you can soothe them by doing these things. Okay, Denise, no, my hair is not new. It's actually, this is called, I wore a hat to take my co-healer Agnes for her walk because it's cold and I'm trying to stay warm. And so when I wear my hat, it makes the ends of my hair flip out. And it's also a little bit dry and staticky because of the season. So I just have fancy hat hair is what's going on. I think it's working for me though. I have a channeled message for you guys, and then I have an oracle card. Thank you, Denise, from Flowers of the Night. I was a little bit confused about this channeled message. I remember writing it, but I was like, is it for today? Or is it for another time? Because usually I have a date or like when I'm supposed to deliver it. And it just follows that seasonal wave drawing that I have for you. So let's assume that it's for today. And if it's not, it'll come back. And if it doesn't make sense, we'll just decide it doesn't make sense. But it says all is temporary and all is well. And you're invited to look for the signs. So just like 2, 3 days ago, I was in the same place as you guys, like, the cold and the dark is like sucking me down. And I was right by my bedroom window and I could hear this frog like talking to me. And it caused me to stop and look out the window. And when I looked out the window, I could see there's this lilac bush, I think they're called, that grows outside my window. And while it's completely bare, I could see like the hints of where it was going to bud out for spring, like just a whisper. And that reminded me that down below, I had seen the beginnings of the daffodils that are going to come up. And they usually come up, what, in like late February? And I was like, relief. Like I instantly felt relief. It was like I was reminded that this season of winter and cold and dark and dry, it's gonna pass. And the moment I allowed myself to feel relief, it put me back to my natural set point, which is joy. Your natural set point is joy. You may not be there yet, but I promise you it is. And so for me, Joy is a visceral feeling. It's not like crazy exuberance. And I know I share a lot of like Disneyland and, kind of over the top joy, but true abiding joy is this feeling that rises from my belly and maybe yours too. I don't know. You have to think about it, but I'm explaining it from my perspective to help you understand. It's like this feeling that moves from my belly up to my heart. Um, and my face breaks into this gentle, knowing smile, whether there are people around or not. Like it rises up into my face. I feel my face radiate and shine with a smile. And it feels like I'm about to start giggling for no reason, but I don't. It's warm. It's kind of fuzzy, but that's not even really the word I would use to describe it. It's just this upward rising warmth that makes me smile and I feel delight and I feel joy. And it started from the feeling of relief. And so our guides are saying to remember the feeling of relief and to trust that anything like anxiety or distracted or airheadedness or even the ringing in your ears, it's temporary and it's going to pass. So it says turn, not tune, turn your awareness on and stop numbing out, like on food or TV or too much social media or alcohol or smoking the weed or whatever it is. When our uncomfortable feelings arise, we want to numb them generally. But if we can just look at them as a natural part of that wave, right? What we're feeling isn't unnatural or unnecessary or wrong. It is very natural to feel this way when we're in that bottom portion of the seasonal energy wave. And so it's like, give yourself permission to feel it so that you can open up to the relief of it passing. Okay? So one more bit of channeled message and then we'll get the card. I haven't forgotten. I feel like today's messages are a little bit long, so thanks for sticking in with me. And again, questions or comments, shoot them down there for me. Our guides, so dude, I just learned that what I've been channeling for over 2 years now has finally named itself for me, and it's the collective guides of Source. So this is it's almost like these guides are like the go-between from source energy to us as humans, and they're really striving to speak to the human aspect of who we are right now, as opposed to the soul aspect, which would be more like the soul's collective, which is channeled by a woman named Gail, who's fabulous. Listen to this. It says, we are striving to end the era of head brain and return to heart brain, to feeling more than thinking less, trusting and knowing more versus understanding and rationalizing. And the words trusting and knowing are so loud and big and bold and strong and expansive, and they just feel right. They feel like joy that's rising. And the word understanding and rationalizing, they feel small. They feel like squished and contracted and quiet and like not anywhere near as good as knowing and trusting. You're being invited to receive the energy that's flowing through this message, this video. Some of the posts I've just started doing within the last week are infused with healing energy. Receive that. It says, trust us, the collective guides of Source, and welcome a new era of love, security, and truth. Joy is your birthright. Kathy is the joy healer. You'll hear me start to mention that from time to time. This she has become, and so we appoint her now to this task. Our light beams shine through her for all who are willing to receive. Be willing. Are you willing? We love you. This message is complete. Amen. I feel like that second part, that last part, we're going to hear again. But for those of you who are watching live or catching the replay, it's almost like you are, you're like the founders is the word that I'm hearing. You're like the brave, courageous ones who are willing to receive the healing energy, who are willing to trust the collective guides of Source, and that you know and understand joy is your birthright, even if you haven't quite learned or figured out how to establish that on a consistent basis for yourself. You get it. You like really get it. And here's the image I gave to someone the other day. I'm so stoked. I have this piece of amethyst with me. This is like single person, okay? This is the giant pond of people. And that as you acknowledge that joy is your birthright, and as you endeavor to learn how to hold that set point, even if you haven't yet, you can and you will learn how to do that. There's just a small circle of people around you. And your joy and your knowledge and your understanding affects them. And then right, then they each have a little circle. And so like ripples in a pond, it expands. And so by starting with yourself, when you learn to hold joy steady, it's going to ripple and change the world, immediate world around you and the world at large in that beautiful ripple effect. And those of you that are here now are watching this particular video, you're like that first drop. And I'm so excited about that. That makes me so like, I can't wait to see how the world changes in 2020 as we move into that clarity of energetic insight. Whoa. There's today's cards, plural. Two of them just hopped out of the deck while I was shuffling. Shuffling. The first one says strength, and the flower is called the Rose of Mexico. So I chose the flowers of the night oracle to remind us that there is beauty in darkness for our Northern Hemisphere friends who are in that trough of darkness. Let's see what the guidebook says about strength. 1 second to find the page. I like this guidebook because the messages are really short, sweet, and simple. This author's intention says, you really do have what it takes, and you know that the answers are within you. 100%. It's almost reiterating what I was just saying. Rose of Mexico flower reminds us to be strong, but also that we are strong. And I think that's more it. It's like, remember. Just like, remember that joy is your birthright. Remember that you are strong. You already are. It's not something you need to grow into. Challenges may be upon you, but they are all a part of a bigger scheme, and one you will be tested by, but will overcome. I think that's it. Like I was like trying to find if there was another sentence for us, and I was like, burr, that's it. Okay, so we got 2 cards today. The next one is awareness, and this is the moonflower vine. Okay, so let's see. I was waiting to hear if there was any message to come through on top of the guidebook message, and I didn't really hear anything. So whatever the author's intention and message was is the right or only necessary message we need for this one. Things that have been hidden, hard to reach or understand will suddenly be illuminated and available. Patterns and habits, as well as the opportunities to break them, are in focus. It's a great time to release past hurts and disappointments. You know what needs to be done. I really, really believe that. Sometimes we need a human helper to walk alongside us, but ultimately you really do know deep within what you need to do. Improvement in intuition and psychic abilities should be realized, and it's a good time to look a little deeper at messages, even hunches that you may experience. Connection with the divine feminine and higher spiritual practices is offered to those who wish to align with the morning flower vine. So it's like if you're ready to align with that energy, the opportunities are going to rise up and present themselves to you. Okay, I'm hearing that these messages are complete. There was a ton of awesome info in here. If you came in somewhere in the middle, oh man, do I recommend going back and checking out the beginning, because this one was definitely like full to the brim of all kinds of super awesome goodness. If you have questions or comments, shoot them down there for me. And give me a little shout out. Let me know that you were here. I am going to be back next Monday with another weekly energy reading. I'm like, there's like a final message wanting to come in, but I feel it like bouncing off a wall, so to speak. Like, nope, Nope, nope. So whatever the message is that's kind of like knocking on my door, I'll drop it down either, you're welcome, Denise. I'll either drop it down in the comments or probably I'll make a new channeled message. I'll type it up or send it in an email. It's just not time, whatever it is. So thank you all for being here live or later. You are super awesome. I appreciate you and I look forward to seeing you in a private one-on-one session or next week for your weekly energy reading. Have a gorgeous day, everybody. Namaste. Bye, guys.